Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary in Central Virginia to share another contemplation with you and to delve into the journey of the meditator. Okay? So, this week we're going to continue with part two of The Power of One: Containment, Expenditure, and Relative Reality. There is only one. Unified consciousness is maximum power, holistic experience. And because it is experiential, when you develop enough power, it is a palpable power. It is an all-encompassing saturation of blissful consciousness. Wholeness is ultimate fulfillment, constant experiential fulfillment. We are enveloped in and radiate the bliss of the source that we are. And that's what this contemplation is all about. It's pointing to the eventuality of developing enough power within yourself through meditation and the constancy of ever evolving positive polarity within yourself so that you can access the truth of who you are while you're still alive, while you're still having the human experience with its limitations and its embodiment on a physical level. You can also experience yourself as source consciousness. So this possibility can open up to you when you meditate on a regular basis, when you develop enough power within yourself and establish that power as a constant in your experience. So some explanation here. Meditation itself, what is that? And why is that so necessary in order for you to actualize an experience of something more truthful, more basic, more fundamental about who you are and what you are? Huh? And the reason for this is that the process of manifestation, because we are in the manifest form of human beings, in that process, the densification of consciousness into energy and energy into form, in that process we forfeit the awareness that we begin the process with. When we first start this journey as consciousness, when we decide this is what we're going to do, who we're going to be, and this is the role we're going to play, and so forth and so on, we're still in that state. We're still in a state of unified consciousness, fully aware that we are consciousness. And then we come into form pretending to be something other than what we truly are. And that's, in this case, Jim Clark. I'm pretending to be Jim Clark, but I am actually, underneath all of the play of Jim Clark, I am source consciousness. That's where I came from. That's what I was before this birth and this role and this play, and that's where I will return to once I am done with this body, once I'm done with this manifest form that is serving me in my evolutionary process to go from non-awareness to awareness. And this is what we mean by wholeness. By wholeness, we mean that you develop enough positive polarity dominance, which also needs some explanation. Positive polarity dominance that we have to develop because we don't have it automatically. As you come into form in the densification process, the creative principle of consciousness is contraction. So you densify and you become less and less aware of what you were aware of naturally when you were in a state where the positive polarity in the relative field of experience was the dominant polarity. You were automatically expanded, you were automatically aware. But now, in the form, after you're born, you're totally unaware. You have no idea who you are, where you came from, other than your mother. And that's your world. And you start to develop, you start to interact with your world immediately. You're looking out. Everything is out there, and it's and it's a mystery, and you're just hypnotized, so to speak, by the external world around you, and you're observing it and experiencing this observation as a human being, separate from all the objects, all the people, all the happenings outside of yourself in this contained form. And that is the dominant negative polarity, the polarity that we have to have as the default dominant, simply because this is manifestation, and all of manifestation requires a negative contractive polarity to dominate the positive polarity. This is the act of manifesting form. So we come here, and by default we don't have a clue. That's the default start of the human experience. And then we live a life, maybe many lifetimes, journeying attempts to come to terms with the outside world and our experience of it, because we are constantly battling with this experience of separation. I, Jim Clark, am separate from you who are watching. I'm separate from the screen I'm looking at. I'm separate from all the objects around me. And this is the dominant experience. So I have to find some way to live with this in a way that is somewhat fulfilling for myself, no? Because if you're not having any fulfillment, if only experience you have as a human being is some form of suffering, if it's something less than a blissful experience for yourself, then it's not going to be something that you really want. And yet, here you are. So you're in this conundrum. You're a human being. You're not having a good time as a human being. Maybe here and there you have moments. Like I used to have. I used to drink a lot. I used to do drugs. I used to do all kinds of things in order to try to find some way to satisfy this urge in myself, which I had no idea where it came from or why it was there, but it was a strong urge in myself to find some level or degree of happiness, because to me that was the ultimate in human experience. I noticed very early on in my life that when I was happy, everyone around me was happy. When I wasn't happy, nobody was happy. And I observed this in all my friends and in life in general, that people were constantly trying to find something. They would develop a lifestyle with certain habits in the pursuit of happiness, whatever that might be. Whatever, it could be something you like to eat, it could be something that you like to see, it could be something, it could be sex, it could be drugs, it could be anything that might bring you some happiness. But all of these attempts were, of course, temporary and limited, and usually there were self-negative after effects from it, like hangovers or overdosing on drugs. The toxicity that you bring into your body is eventually going to show up somehow, and you're going to have to deal with that. So, and this is pretty common in the human experience throughout history. If you look at history in terms of the development of alcohol and the use of drugs to help to try to access something more fundamental to life than this experience of being a separate human being trying to survive. So this is what drives us to seek. This is what drives us, our curiosity. We say, what is this all about? Is this it in life? Because if that's all life is, if it's just a struggle to stay alive, then what's the point? Ultimately, it just doesn't have a point. It's not worth it. It's like, why bother? So, as a human being, we have to go through this development of being unsatisfied and attempting everything we can think of to be satisfied, only to ultimately come to the conclusion that going outside of ourselves to find something that will bring us fulfillment doesn't work. And at this point in our experience, and this usually develops over many lifetimes, eventually we still don't have the answer. We don't know, but we have run out of places to go to try to find an answer. We've tried everything and it still hasn't happened for us. So what then? And at that point in your spiritual, we could say, development, or your development of spiritual awareness of yourself, we're open to something. This is when we start asking. We ask for the answer, and when we ask for the answer, it comes in whatever form is appropriate for us as an individual. It could be an awakening experience. It could be just somebody showing up that starts to guide you in terms of bringing you into an internal focus that you have never experienced before with any duration. And this is all meditation is. It's simply taking what is default, which is to be totally focused to the exterior of our being, and start to spend more and more time focus inward. We're just reversing up our focus on which polarity we are going to experience, without really realizing that that's what we're doing. When you meditate, you're just shifting the dominant polarity in your experience, even if it's just for 15 minutes or an hour or whatever. And eventually, this pursuit will become more and more serious for you. You'll become more aware of the fact that there's something to it, because you will have breakthrough experiences where all of a sudden you will experience something more about yourself that will literally blow your mind. You'll have experiences that your mind cannot comprehend or gather, because the mind was not ever intended to go there. The mind is part of the illusion of separation. It's not beyond it. It can be used as a tool to help get you there, but eventually you have to go past the mind to get the experience of any truthful reality concerning yourself, who you are, what you are, where you came from, and what life is all about. So this is the pursuit that I've been involved with for over 30 years, and the only reason that I've spent so much time in my life dedicated to this practice, daily meditation and holistic lifestyle, which is simply a lifestyle that supports my physicality to endure prolonged periods of internal focus and the resultant increase in energy that goes through my system, is to bring myself to a point of realization where I can experience constancy in the truth of who I am. That's the only point to all of this, and that is what life is really all about. Because it's all a pretense. Consciousness has created what we call the creation game, where it pretends to be something other than it is. In this case, the human form, as well as all the other forms that are alive and bouncing around, and forms that don't appear alive even. It's all a play. But to break through that and to get to the truth of who you are, all you have to do is dive into yourself deeply and consistently and daily. And if you have someone to help guide you through the experiences that you have, because those experiences are very powerful, and the after effects of those experiences is equally powerful. Because once you experience something deeper about yourself, the beliefs that you still hold inside yourself that are contradictory and not commensurate with that experience, what happens to them? They have to go, because they're not real to you anymore. They served you up to that point, but now that you realize that there's more to life, even though you're still exploring and learning what that is, those beliefs have to surface and be cleared. That opens the door for more of the same. And there's a process that repeats itself for however long it has to, for you to gain enough what we call power, which is really balance. It's the balance between the negative and the positive being being, and the negative being becoming. This becoming is the identification with the physical world and yourself as a human being, whereas being is the energetic experience of the consciousness that you are. And to open the door to gain the experience, even if it's just for a while, and then to continue that process so that momentary experience of yourself as consciousness can start to grow itself, so it comes back again and again and again in whatever form, and then to establish that as a constant, so that energetically, no matter what you're doing, even with an external focus, as I am having right now looking at my camera, the experience of myself as source consciousness is happening within me because of all my years of meditation and holistic lifestyle. And that's why I share what I share here, is to encourage people, if they are meditating, to continue their meditation and maybe even deepen it, to become more involved with that process. And if you're not meditating and you just happen to see this, I'm sharing this to encourage you to give it a go, give it a try, and see if it's not something that you're ready for. And I say ready for because the journey is not one without its challenges, and it's certainly not one to be taken lightly if you're going to go for the goal. If you're going to really try to establish the truth of who you are as a constant in your experience, you have to really go into it and stay with it, just like anything else in life. What you give is what you get. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and that's what this contemplation is really all about. It's to realize the possibility of fulfillment that's waiting for you if you adopt a meditative and holistic lifestyle experience and stay with it. Irregardless of what that is, I use the synchronicity meditation, and it certainly has worked for me and many, many other people in our community who have used this same meditation technology for many years. They also are having the same experience that I'm having in their own way. So that's it for today. I say meditate, meditate, meditate. Learn what meditation is by meditating and by associating yourself with people who have been there. They've traveled the road, they've journeyed the journey, and they can help you out, to help you to understand what your experience is and what to do or not do in relation to that, so that you can continue to develop yourself, your power, until you reach the point where you understand what it is and you understand who you are and what life is. So that's it for this Monday. I'll be back again next week to share another contemplation with you. So chin up and go for it. That's my message for now. Thank you.